Welcome back to another video. In this one we're going to be painting up this SKORPEKH Destroyer from the Indomitus box. I'm hoping that we can achieve something similar to this, which is one of the test miniatures I did before committing to the scheme. I quite like it, so if you want to see how I achieve this, then just carry on watching the video. Now I started this one off by spray painting it as I normally do with Chaos Black, followed by some lead belcher spray as well, just to get a nice smooth metallic finish. And then as I normally do after that, we're just going to start off by applying an all-over wash of Necron oil. I do this to bring some of the definition back into the miniature, and it also makes it easier for us to apply some other layers of paint over this as well. So it's quite an easy step this, just grab your Necron oil and start applying it all over the miniature. You want to watch out for pooling, otherwise no need to worry about being neat or anything just yet. And I'll be back once this is applied and dry. With the Necron oil wash dry, it's time to start lightening up those metallics a bit as well and applying a highlight. And to do that I'm going to be using Necron Compound, and we're going to be dry brushing that on. So I've just got some Necron Compound to the side here, and I'm just going to be removing some of that from my brush. And it's just going to be a case of dry brushing very gently all over the miniature, all over everything, just to start lightening the miniature back up again and catching the highlights. So I'll be back once I've done this. That's the dry brush of Necron Compound done. You can see that it's just lightened up the metal and caught sort of the edges to make them stand out a bit more. Now what I'm going to do is, this is an optional step, but it is a step I like to do on my slightly bigger or more elite units. It's definitely something I do with my characters. But I'm just going to grab some Stormhost Silver, and I'm just going to go around the model picking out some of the sharp edges and battle damage, just to make them pop a bit more. So for example, the battle damage on the leg here, I'm just going to catch the sort of underside of that with some Stormhost Silver, just to make sure that that really does catch the light and stand out. And then again on sort of some of these sharper edges, so like on the top of this leg piece here, I'm just going to catch the top of that there, and then maybe sort of just this corner bit here, just to make them stand out a bit more. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go around the miniature, grabbing all those with Stormhost Silver, and I'll be back once that's done. That's the sporadic highlighting with Stormhost Silver done now. Next up we're going to be moving on to basing in some of the gold detail, and for that we're going to be using Retributor Armour. This is only going to be around the weapons, just to draw a bit of attention to them. So what I'm going to do with gold is I'm just going to do this little band here at the end of the weapon, this bit here, this bit at the top, and then this ring over here at the top there. Just not too much, but should just draw some attention to the weapon. So again, it's going to be Retributor Armour, and we're just going to be carefully blocking this in on both the weapons, and I'll be back once I finish doing that. With the Liberator Gold now applied to those areas, it's a nice quick step. This we're going to just move on to some Seraphim Sepia. As I say, it's a nice quick step, and it's just going to be applying a fairly liberal coat of Seraphim Sepia to all this Retributor Gold that we've just put on, just to age the look of the gold a bit and provide some shading. So just apply that to all the Liberator Gold that you just painted up, and we'll be back once that's dry. With the Seraphim Sepia now dry, it's time to highlight the gold, and to do that we'll be using Liberator Gold. So I've just got a small amount on my brush, and we're just going to be catching all the edges, just so that they pop a bit. So you should be able to use the edge of your brush for these, some of these details. So just like here, for example, and then just sort of going around all the edges, just with this Liberator Gold. It shouldn't be too difficult to catch all of those. I'll be back once I'm done. With the Liberator Gold highlights done, that's the gold finished. So we're going to move on to the face now. For that we're going to need our Runelord Brass. So what this is just going to be an all-over covering of the face. You want to avoid the recesses, so avoid sort of the battle damage. Avoid the eye recesses, the nose, the mouth, and you don't want to paint this bit on the back. but otherwise you want to try and cover everything else neatly and smoothly with Runelord Brass. So we'll just start blocking this colour in, and I'll be back once I've done that. With the Runelord Brass down on the head now, it's time to give that area a wash, and to do that I'm going to be using the Cryptek Armourshade gloss. You don't need an awful lot of this on your brush at all. You want to watch out for pooling, because it can look very glossy if you let it pool. It's quite a strong wash, this as well, so I will just start washing this, just try to find an area where it would be best to show you guys. What I do to avoid pooling is just sort of put the brush on the miniature, glide it down. You can see it sort of pooling at the bottom there, but if you just let your brush glide off the edge of the miniature, it sort of gets rid of that pooling, and that will now dry. The gloss that's on there, or the wash that's on there, will dry and leave that nice warm tone behind. So I'm just going to go around the miniature doing this, and I'll be back when I'm done. And with the Cryptek Armourshade gloss dry now, it's time to highlight the face, and to do that we're going to be using Canoptek Alloy. Just wanting to catch all the edges and sort of raised surfaces like the teeth and areas that you want to stand out. So just start a bit awkward with this one. For example, the top of the nose. I want to catch that, sort of the eye, top of the eyes. Just catch that. And the sort of ridge, the sharp area on the face here. And just all around the edges and stuff as well. So I'll just do that, and then I'll be back. With the Canoptek Alloy highlights done, that's the face finished pretty much, apart from the eyes when we get around to those a bit later. So it's time now to start blocking in some of the black details. So those are going to be things like this one solid cable in here, the chest decoration, this part of the weapon here, leaving this bit silver in the middle, and then this part of the weapon here, and then the same on this one. And those will be it for the black details. So again here, and all this here on this weapon as well. So black of your choice, it doesn't really matter. I pulled Black Templar out just because that's what I saw in my drawer first. Abaddon Black would work fine as well. So I'm just going to go around the model and give all those black details 2 thin coats, just so I get a solid black, and I'll be back once that's done. With the areas that we want black now based in, it's time to start highlighting some of them. So for the cable on the inside here, and for the chest decoration, we're going to highlight them both in the same way, and that's going to be starting off with Eshin Grey. So I've just got some Eshin Grey on my brush, and then on the chest decoration here, that's just going to be a highlight around all the edges, which you should be able to do using the side of your brush. So just be careful with this, try not to get any of the Eshin Grey on the metal work that you've just done. And then also with this, you want to just catch the cables that we've based in black as well, just so they stand out a bit more. And I'll be back once I've finished doing that. With the Eshin Grey highlight done, it's now time to just catch a couple of the edges with some Dawnstone. And I pretty much just mean like just catch the edges, just to make them stand out a little bit extra. So just like that, being very gentle, just accentuating some of those corners. And then sort of on the cable down here, just putting a little dot there where the light might catch the cable. And I'll just finish that up, and then I'll be back. So we'll now be moving on to some of the other black areas, but these ones are going to be highlighted slightly differently. So that's going to be this back piece on the blade here, and then this top piece here that sort of connects the blade to this rod. And to do that, we're going to be starting off with some Dark Reaper. So I've just got some thinned off to the side here, and we'll just be highlighting the edges on those. And the vast majority of these you should just be able to catch with the side of your brush. So it'll just be a neat edge highlight around these areas, and same on this piece here. And you want to do that for both blades. I'll be back when I'm done. With those Dark Reaper highlights now applied, it's time to just pop them a little more, and for that I'm going to be using Russ Grey. Now, much in the same way that we used the Dawnstone earlier, the Russ Grey is just going to be used to accentuate some of these sort of corners and sharp areas. You don't need an awful lot, and you should just be able to get away with the side of your brush again. So, for example, sort of this corner here, I'm just going to catch that gently with some of this Russ Grey. And maybe underneath this battle damage here. Just catching that with some of this Russ Grey. And then just where I think the light would catch, sort of up here. And I'm just going to go around the model, or the black details that we've just done with the Dark Reaper, and do that. I'll be back when I'm done. And with our Russ Grey highlight done, those two areas of the blades are finished. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to work on finishing off this chest piece, just so that bit's done as well. You'll need to start off with some Moot Green. So I've just got some Moot Green thinned down to the side here. And all you're wanting to do is just gently, with the side of your brush, work to catch the pattern on the inside there with the Moot Green on the side of your brush. If you're gentle, it should be fairly easy just to catch the raised detail with the edge of your brush here. And I'll come back when that's dry. And with that Moot Green now dry, I'm just going to want to add a bit of Yriel Yellow to the sort of central bit there, just to make it look like it's glowing or getting brighter from the inside out. So I've just got some Yriel Yellow thin to the side here. And you just need to be delicate with this. There we go. I'm just applying it to the inside, coming out from the inside ever so slightly, just to give the impression that it's getting brighter from the inside out. With that finished, it's time to start painting the orbs now, and to get the base down for that we're going to be using Ulthuan Grey. So you want to paint the Ulthuan Grey on the arm orbs and on the leg orbs, which I believe are on these two legs, and then also remember to catch his eyes. So I'll be using Ulthuan Grey, which I've got thinned down to the side here, and it'll take about 2 thin coats, I think, to get a nice smooth layer of this. So I'll just start painting that in, and then once that's dry I will be back to finish the orbs off. With our Ulthuan Grey now based in, it's time to actually paint in that glow effect, and for that I'll be using a technical paint from Games Workshop called Tesseract Glow. You don't need an awful lot of this at all, a little goes quite a long way. So I'm just sort of getting a little on my brush, taking some off, and it's a case of just painting this on and watching for pooling. You want to try and sort of control the application on with your brush, just so you don't get left with sort of puddles of concentrated glow. There we go. And then you also want to catch the eyes, and I also painted these bits in with Ulthuan Grey up here as well. So I'm just going to be painting those in, just to add a bit of extra interest to the weapon. And I'll be back once I've gone around the miniature painting the orbs in. With those orbs now painted in, I also want to create a bit of a glow effect, sort of similar to the ones on here. And to do that, we're going to stick with our Tesseract Glow. And again, you're not going to need an awful lot on your brush at all, so I'm just sort of removing quite a lot from my brush right now. And then it's just going to be a case of moving away from the orb towards it, so you want to sort of try and make it lighter as you get towards the orb. Just going to sort of be using my brush to drag some of that Tesseract Glow in towards the orb. You don't want to go overboard with this. I think it just gives it a nice sort of effect. Makes it look as though the orb's actually glowing. So I'm just going to go around all the orbs and just a little bit on the face, around the eyes as well with this, and then I'll be back when I'm done. With that done, we'll now be moving on to painting the blades. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go for something a bit similar to this. I like to think that these orbs are sort of like powering the weapon, so I'm wanting like a really vivid blade, and I quite like my Necron weapons to stand out, so we'll be doing it like that. It's a bit more advanced, but I think we can cope. Now, I'm by no means an expert glazer, but I do like to give it a go every now and again, just to sort of get a bit of practice. So what I normally do when I'm glazing is I 50% water, 50% mix the paint that I'll be glazing with. Let me just get some of my brush. And I'll try and go for sort of about that consistency. You can see on my nail there, where you can kind of see the brush is leaving some paint. But it's very thin, very transparent, and allows us to sort of build up colour slowly. So just re-prepping my brush. So what I'm going to do is this top bit, I'm going to have it darker down here, gradually getting lighter as it goes up this way. And then on this bottom bit, I'm going to have it darker in this corner, gradually getting lighter as we drag it back this way. So let me just prep my brush, get some of this on here, some excess, and then just in as much of one motion as you can possibly get it. So I'm just going to leave, I'm going to start about here to leave some black. About as much of one motion as we can get it. I'm just going to sort of drag my brush across like that, pulling off any excess if I can. And same on this side, as much of one motion as I can possibly get it, dragging off any excess. Now as you can see, you won't actually notice anything there yet, and this side's actually dry now, so we can come back here and just do that again. So it'll possibly take a couple of layers before you even really notice there's any colour build up. If we just be patient, keep doing that, and eventually you'll get black up into solid green. I'm wanting the solid green to hopefully start sort of around this area here, so you got that sort of blend in that way, and that's still drying. Bit on the bottom bit, we can then come in and do this side, so dragging off the excess. And then we're just going to go around and do this on all the blades until we get a solid coat of the Caliban Green. Sorry, that's the colour I'm using, is Caliban Green. I'll be back when I'm done. After many thin layers of Caliban Green, you sort of get something that looks like that. The transition isn't striking, but it is there. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do exactly the same thing, but instead we're going to be using Warpstone Glow. And we're going to be glazing that on, so we want to obviously leave a bit of our Caliban Green glaze, so I'll possibly start the Warpstone Glow glaze about here. And let's just check the consistency of the glaze. Let's just have a quick look at that, excuse the state of my... Yeah, see? So we've got a good glaze consistency going on there. Again, this is 50% paint, 50% water. Just loading up my brush. This should start getting noticeable now as our paints are getting lighter. So just make sure that's in focus for you guys. And then, as I say, I'm going to start about here. And going to start layering up my Warpstone Glow. Exactly the same way as we did the Caliban Green. And then I'll be back once we've got something to look at. After several layers of Warpstone Glow, this is sort of the effect that you'll end up with. Next we'll be doing Moot Green, and it's going to be exactly the same, 50% paint, 50% water, and we're going to be starting a bit further up the blade, a bit further down the blade on the side, and then just start sort of layering up that Moot Green. So it's just going to be a case of exactly the same as we've been doing so far with the Caliban Green and the Warpstone Glow. So I've just got some paint and brush quickly, and it's just going to be a case of possibly start around sort of here for this one. It's going to be a case of here and that, didn't see that one, and layering this up, and same for down here. I'll possibly start sort of here. Just keep layering that up until we're happy with it. And I'll be back once we've got something to look at. With a little patience and many layers of Moot Green later, you should end up with something that looks a little like this. Our next step is going to be sticking with our Moot Green, and we're just going to be edge highlighting around the weapon just to make some of those darker areas pop a bit more and actually sort of give the blade a sharp appearance. It shouldn't be too difficult. There are lots of nice sharp edges that you can just sort of run the paintbrush around the corners and the edges. And you'll want to do that for all the sort of internal details as well. And again, you should just be able to run your paintbrush around those edges like that. So you just want to go around both blades, fronts and backs, and then I'll be done once I've done that. With that edge highlight of Moot Green now done, your SKORPEKH Destroyer is finished. Just got to base it, and I would recommend doing that so that it matches the rest of your army. I will link up in the description and just up here how I base my Necrons. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get this chap based, and then I'll be back to show you the finished product. And with the base done, he's now ready for the tabletop. He's also ready to join the other 3 SKORPEKH Destroyers, which I've painted up alongside this one. I was quite pleased with how these have turned out, just sort of bring them up so you've got reference if you're following along with the painting of these. I've also got a tutorial for the plasma sight that comes up with these, so I'll just link that in the description and up above quickly, just in case you're interested in painting up plasma sight as well. But that's it for another video. If you have found this at all helpful, I'd hugely appreciate it if you could drop the video a quick like, and if you're going to be interested at all in other Necron painting tutorials from the Indomitus box, or just in general, or Necron chat at all, then consider subscribing. But until next time guys, cheers, bye now.